The number 3 for Zimbabwe today. The physio's required again. Well, a stop-start beginning to this game. Two teams temporarily down to 10 men. Kamabiliat is wandering back onto the field, waiting for the green light to come back on. Kenya in possession. Eric Otieno. Launched long downfield, looking for the run on the right-hand side. Just a bit too much on that ball. The idea was a good one. Kenya aiming to get in behind. Zimbabwe in possession again. There's another crunching challenge coming in on that man Kamabiliat. Rooney Onyango was the Kenyan player who certainly committed himself. He got away with that one. Kamabiliat feeling the pain, I think it's fair to say. AFCON Q 2025, remember, is the hashtag to keep across all the action on social media, all the various different channels, as Kenya look to come forward again. Technically the home team here today in Kampala. This is Richard Odada. Sylvester Owino. Free kick given by the Senegalese referee. Of course, the fact that Kenya are not able to play on home territory means that we have a very sparse crowd inside this vast stadium here in Kampala today. Uganda themselves, by the way, are in action a bit later on today against South Africa in Johannesburg in their own qualifying group, which features South Sudan and Congo. Congo beat South Sudan by 1-0 in Brazzaville in their opening match in that group. Just a reminder of the format. 12 qualifying groups. Top 2 in every group will advance to the AFCON itself, with the exception of Group B, in which Morocco are playing to make up the numbers, but of course as the host nation of the next tournament they've already qualified automatically. So if they were to finish in 3rd or 4th place in that group, well, only the top team in the section would advance with them. Kenya in possession. Sylvester Owino. Pass intercepted. Left by Biliat. And it runs behind for the goal kick. Well, once again, a problem here for Zimbabwe. It's Andy Rinomota who's on the ground this time. one of several players in this Zimbabwe team who were born in the United Kingdom. Rino Mota, who plays for Cardiff City in the English Championship. Well, there are some spectators here today, and that lady apparently needing a crutch, but it's not preventing her from moving around and trying to enjoy her afternoon here in the stands in Kampala as Andy Rino Mota undergoes treatment. Well, this was the opportunity for Zimbabwe. Rino Mota played the pass through, and no indication of how exactly he hurt himself. There was no contact with him from the opposition player as that ball was played through towards Prince Dube. He was unable to bring it under control. So we restart with a Kenya goal kick. This is Richard Odada of Dundee United. Long ball forward again. Kenya looking to go over the top. And Eric Otieno making the run, but unable to keep that ball in play. Just a reminder that this AFCON qualifying campaign comes in the middle of the qualifying campaign for the 2026 World Cup in North America, an expanded World Cup with 48 teams in total, which means more places on offer for African nations. Kenya are in a difficult group with the Elephants of Ivory Coast, who are of course the favourites to take the automatic qualifying place from the group. Team finishing in second has the chance to advance to playoffs to keep alive their qualifying prospects. Kenya began their campaign with a 2-1 defeat in Gabon last November, but since then they were comprehensive winners against the group minnows Seychelles, and then in June they had a couple of draws, one of them particularly encouraging against Ivory Coast, and the other one against Burundi just before that, but the two games were played on neutral territory in Malawi because Kenya unable to host games in one of their own stadiums. The problem continuing for them, and that is going to make it very difficult for the Harambee Stars to qualify for the World Cup. It was always going to be an uphill struggle anyway, and it's certainly not going to help them in their attempts to make it to the AFCON as well, as Otieno digs out the cross. Picked up now by Musona. Space for Kamabiliat on the left for Zimbabwe. 10 minutes to half-time here. Biliat again. Oh, superbly taken down on the near side by Murwira. Slotted through towards Biliat. Might get a second bite at this, and a big opportunity here for Zimbabwe to get the breakthrough. But desperate defending from Kenya to deny the away side the opening goal. Jordan Zamura was forward as well. It was his shot that was blocked. All came from a terrific pass by Prince Dube looking for Biliat. The goalkeeper Omondi came out to get a touch on it, but the ball came loose, and in the end it fell for Zamura to attempt the shot. Kamabiliat with the cutback. Still alive here. Kenya back on the ball again. Murwira with the throw. Here he is on the ball again. Now Biliat choosing to go back to the goalkeeper, Washington Harambee. Hasn't had too much to do thus far this afternoon. Clearance by Otieno, and the whistle has gone for an offside. In terms of the World Cup qualifiers, they will resume next March in confirmation of that substitution a little earlier in the first half. Amos Nondi coming on for Alfonso Mija. Mija, one of several players in the Kenya squad who belong to the country's leading club side, Gor Mahia. Confirmation too of a yellow card for Kama Biliat. Zimbabwe bursting into the box again, and once more some very important last-ditch defending. It was a good challenge by Odada. Yes, the calendar dictating that the qualifiers for the next AFCON taking place all close together this month, next month and in November. That's because the initial calendar was planning for the next AFCON to take place early next year, but of course it has been pushed back in the end due to the pressures on the calendar elsewhere, and it will not take place until the end of 2025, the beginning of 2026, but the World Cup qualifiers will resume in March and then run on towards the end of next year. It is goalless here though in Kampala today between Kenya and Zimbabwe. 5 minutes to half-time, and this opening qualifying match for these two teams. Musona. Otieno, happy to give it back to his captain, Joseph Okumu. And this is Teddy Akumu. Odada. That's good pressing from Zimbabwe to win possession back again. Biliat releasing Prince Dube here. Big chance for Zimbabwe. And parried by the goalkeeper. Berno Mondi having to make the save. Well, Kenya might have had more of the ball, but Zimbabwe having the better chances in this first half. And from a Kenyan perspective, too easy really for the opposition. Possession lost in midfield, and Zimbabwe just needing one pass from Biliat to release Prince Dube. Here come Zimbabwe again. Just look at the space on the left-hand side for Jordan Zamura, but the Warriors unable to find him. Well, that is going to be a source of concern for Engin Firat, the coach of Kenya, the extent to which his team are being cut open on the counter-attack. Certainly would be a disastrous start to their campaign if they were to lose this game today, the Harambee Stars. Here they come again, though. Austin Odiambo into the box and just pushed a bit too far. It's good defending in the end. Ball running through to Washington Harambee. He's one of the more experienced players in this Zimbabwe team. Gerald Takwara. Picked up in midfield by Teddy Akumu. And Mikhail Nays, the new Zimbabwe coach, was very frustrated there at the way in which his team failed to capitalise on another opportunity to break forward quickly. Fine conditions here today in Kampala, near the shores of Lake Victoria. Kenya having to decamp to the stadium at Nambool. How significant will the loss of proper home advantage be for the Harambee Stars? Moving in now to 3 minutes of stoppage time at the end of the first half. Omondi sends it long downfield. Challenge on Odada. The referee was well placed to make a decision on it. He says the ball was played fairly. Otieno gives it to Austin Odiambo. Kenya working it all the way back to Sylvester Owino. Interception by Zamura. Now Biliat. Well, dwarfed physically up against almost all of these Kenyan players, Kama Biliat, but he does have the technique to enable him to make an impact on games. Here's Jordan Zamura again. Continuing the run forwards. Offside flag comes up against Tawanda Chirewa. Another of the English-based players in the Zimbabwe squad belonging to Wolverhampton Wanderers of the Premier League. Zimbabwe hoping to tap into that undoubted quality. Players playing at that level, of course, the Zimbabwe national team. Probably most emblematic player would be Peter Ndlovu, who starred in English football in the 90s with Coventry City, most notably. Touched on by Munetsi. Kenya coming forward again, perhaps still time for an attempt on goal before the half-time whistle goes. Odiambo. Omondi holds it up. Headed away by the Zimbabwe defence. Odada trying to feed it through, but easily read, and that is the end of the first half action here in Kampala this Friday afternoon between Kenya and Zimbabwe, and we wait for the breakthrough. A goalless first 45 minutes in which Zimbabwe have had a couple of very decent openings. Kenya have had plenty of possession without really managing to trouble Washington Harambee in the away goal too much. And as it stands at the moment in this opening game in qualifying Group J for the next edition of the Africa Cup of Nations, it is Kenya 0, Zimbabwe 0. two coaches will have said to their players at the interval. Of course, Zimbabwe had a couple of excellent chances on the break in the first half, and Michael Nace, their recently appointed coach, will have been encouraged by a lot of what he's seen thus far. Kenya forced into change in the early stages of the game, which perhaps disrupted their rhythm somewhat, losing Alfonso Mija from their defence. And time for a quick huddle for the Kenyan players before the second half gets underway here. Well, it will be Kenya to get us underway then in the second half. Eric Omondi standing over the ball. And we are underway once more then in Kampala. Kenya and Zimbabwe 0-0. Half-time, and two teams looking for a winning start in their attempts to qualify for the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations in Morocco. Apologies again for one or two picture problems which plagued us in the first half, and we hope that will not be the case in the second half, and we hope to have the sound back as well very soon. No changes at the beginning of the second half for either team. The reminder that Kenya did make that substitution in the early stages of the game. Amos Nondi coming on for Alfonso Mija. Kenya in white, shooting from left to right then in the second half here. Eric Otieno taking the throw. He's got that left-hand side pretty much all to himself. Getting up and down. Ball flighted across to the near side, knocked down by Rini Onyango. Now then, it's going to be a corner. Ball held up towards the back post, watched all the way by Washington Harambee, but he couldn't hold on to it, and in the end, ricocheted off Jukaboya and against the goalkeeper again and behind for the first corner kick of the second half, which Austin Odiambo is going to deliver here. Washington Harambee coming off his line and not getting anywhere near that ball. Buya into the middle. This time it will run through to Washington Harambee. Well, this time a free kick given in favour of Zimbabwe. These teams meeting again. They did play each other recently in the COSAFA Cup tournament for Southern African nations, and to which Kenya were invited as a guest to replace Malawi. Ended up in the same group, and Kenya beat Zimbabwe by 2-0. Very ambitious attempt on goal from that kind of range. Walter Musona with the effort well over the top. See it from behind the goal. He was certainly hoping that it would come back down again, but not quite what he intended. Touched by Zamura. Picked up now by Kenya once again. Rino Mota fouled in midfield by Abuya. Andy Rino Mota, the number 10, playing alongside Marshall Munetsi, the skipper in there. Otieno. Joseph Okumu, the captain. Being hassled and harried by Kamabiliat. Teddy Akumu under pressure in the midfield in his return to Omondi in goal. Joseph Okumu again. Well, Kenya trying to play their way out from the back, invite the pressure onto them and possibly open up some spaces. That has to be a deliberate strategy from the Harambee Stars, as a free kick is given Zimbabwe's way for the challenge on Rino Mota, and the yellow card brandished by the Senegalese referee as well. That was the challenge. And Richard Odada, the player who is cautioned. Free kick flighted in. This time no wild attempt on goal from such a long way out. Well, the challenges flying in at the beginning of this second half, but the quality in the final third is lacking at the moment. And that COSAFA Cup game between the teams just over 2 months ago, at the beginning of July, played in South Africa. Kenya won it 2-0 with 2 second-half goals. Reminder as well of the hashtag to follow all the action on social media, AFCONQ 2025. It's about this time in the second half of that COSAFA Cup game that Kenya got the breakthrough. The two teams were eliminated in the group stage, despite both getting 2 wins out of 3. Only the group winners advanced to the semi-finals. Now then, appeals for a penalty. It looked like there might have been a push inside the box. The referee not interested. Akumu. Joseph Okumu forward. Kept in play on the near side here by Rini Onyango. Amos Nondi returning it to his goalkeeper again. Well, there is only a smattering of spectators in the stadium here in Kampala, but we are also experiencing some sound problems, which is why you really can't hear too much of the atmosphere around us. Here come Kenya again. Kept in by Onyango. Back to Amos Nondi, the substitute. Omondi. This is Amos Nondi again. And the challenge coming in from Gerald Takwara. Well, he did well, and he did well to just stop his momentum before sliding into the photographers. Another Kenyan corner. Austin Odhiambo to swing it in. Kamabiliat. Zimbabwe looking to break here. Once again, Biliat caught. Well, he's had an excellent career, Kamabiliat. "34 years old, now back playing in his home country. But he's been in South Africa before that for some time. He had a significant spell at Kaizer Chiefs. And previously at Mamelodi Sundowns, South Africa's leading club, one of the top clubs on the African continent. Goalless here between Kenya and Zimbabwe. Rooney Onyango. 10 minutes of the second half gone. Onyango again trying to cut the ball back, and it's once more turned behind for a corner. It's Jordan Zamura who got the touch that time. Well, Michael Neys, the new German coach of Zimbabwe, is thinking about a change. For the moment, his team have defending to do once again. Another corner which Eric Omondi will take this time. Plays it short. Held up into the middle and claimed by Washington Harambee. Zimbabwe once again look to break here. Kamabiliat unable to keep his footing on the playing surface. Amos Nondi returning it to Burn Omondi, the goalkeeper. Touched off by Odhiambo. Brilliant running down this left-hand side from Otieno. Well, they are getting a bit of joy on the flanks. And Zimbabwe now about to make the substitutions, and recognition that they need to change something up. Tawanda Chirewa, English-based forward who's not really been able to make any impact on the game today, is one of the players coming off, and Walter Musona as well. Well, we'll see if that leads to a change in shape for Zimbabwe. Making the first substitution before the corner is taken, and the second one as well. Well, they're bringing on Daniel Sendami in place of Musona. Sendami is a winger, and Chirewa making way. The number 19 coming on in his place, Tawanda Mazwanise, who plays his club football in Scotland for Motherwell. Confirmation that Musona has gone off as well. In comes the corner, cleared away at the near post. And a painful one for the Zimbabwe goalkeeper, colliding with the frame of his goal. Well, the corner was cleared away by Zimbabwe captain Marshall Munetsi, only as far as Duke Abuya, and then Washington Harambee colliding with his own goal net, I think it might have been, which has done him some damage. I think it is the upright which has led to him hurting, and looks like his right shoulder. Zimbabweans want to be sure that they leave here at least with a point today. That would be a decent start for them in this group. Cameroon kick off their campaign tomorrow against Namibia at the Japoma Stadium in Douala, which was one of the main venues for the 2022 AFCON. Cameroon then coming here to face Zimbabwe in this very stadium. That is next Tuesday evening. So Zimbabwe have made that double substitution. And the pink-haired Kamabiliat. So one or two moments in this game where he's been able to play a key pass, but in general, I think he's found the physicality of the Kenyan players to be a challenge today. Here comes Zimbabwe. See if the substitutes can make an impact on this game. It looks like going to play on the flanks. Mazwanise on the left and Msendami on the right. Jordan Zamura comes into the penalty box, laid off by Prince Dubé, and the shot from Biliat, well, he caressed it, trying to curl one into the top corner, and it wasn't far over the bar. Well, it's good play from the Warriors. The space to run into for Jordan Zamura. Back it came to Prince Dubé, and then Biliat with the effort. More than two-thirds of the way through this game now. An excellent ball out to the left flank. Picked up by Rino Mota. Marshall Munetsi. Well, I mentioned Kenya's start to qualifying for the next World Cup. Zimbabwe, meanwhile, had a famous 1-1 draw with Nigeria in one of their opening games, despite being forced to play that home fixture in Rwanda. But otherwise, haven't found it going too easy. Drew 0-0 with Rwanda just before playing the Nigerians, and then a 2-0 defeat against Lesotho in another home game that was played on neutral territory in Johannesburg before a 3-1 defeat in South Africa against Bafana Bafana. It's left them in a difficult position, I think it's fair to say, in their qualifying group. As the referee reaches for his pocket again, another heavy collision. Well, Amos Nondi is on the ground, but the Zimbabwean player is apparently in some pain, and it looks like he is going to get the card here. Well, let's see this in slow motion. Nondi sets off on the run. The challenge comes in from Gerald Takwara, who committed himself to it. Well, Nondi's studs do rake down the leg of the Zimbabwe player, but I'm not sure he could have done anything differently there, to be fair. Well, treatment needed for both players. And it looks like the referee is going to present the yellow card to Gerald Takwara. Well, Gerald Takwara, who recently moved to Iraq to play his club football, feeling the pain of that challenge. Underway again. Kenya restarting things, and Takwara waiting for the green light to come back on. For the moment, Kenya have the extra man. Brought down by Omondi. Picked up by Biliat. Well, we're coming up to the midway point in the second half and still waiting for a bit of quality in front of goal. It's still 0-0 between Kenya and Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe team who didn't participate in the qualifying campaign for the last AFCON, who've scored just 2 goals in 4 matches so far in qualifying for the 2026 World Cup. One of them came in that 1-1 draw with the Nigerian Super Eagles when Walter Musona put them ahead that day, only for Kelechi Iheanacho to equalise for the Nigerians in November last year. Well, meanwhile, Kenya about to make their second substitution of the afternoon. It's going to be in attack. Eric Omondi is the player coming off here. Forward who is based in Romania, and his place being taken by John Avire, a striker who plays his club football in Egypt. Well, let's see if Avire can offer more of a threat in the Zimbabwe penalty box. Biliat for Zimbabwe. Owino. Otieno. Plays it to Odiambo. First chance for Avire to make an impact on the game, and Kenya have themselves another corner kick here. It's going to be Austin Odiambo to deliver it. Headed away again at the near post. Harambee Stars doing the pressing. Odiambo heading towards the byline and just overrunning that ball. Here's Rooney Onyango, the Gor Mahia player. His club have been in Champions League action already at the tail end of last month, getting the better of opposition from South Sudan to secure their place in the second round in qualifying for the group stage of this season's CAF Champions League. The bad news for Gor Mahia is that their opponents in the second round will be the mighty Al Ahly of Egypt. First leg to come, not this weekend, but the following weekend. And then the return leg in Cairo the weekend after that one. Gor Mahia will be able to host Al Ahly in their own Nyayo National Stadium in Nairobi, which Kenya are not able to use at the moment. Of course, Kenya is getting ready in terms of infrastructure as well as in terms of its national team for not so much the next AFCON, but the one after that, which they will co-host. Ball into the middle. And it's Joseph Okumu who turns it behind for a Zimbabwe corner. Unusually today, the rival captains are teammates at club level. Joseph Okumu joining Marshall Munetsi last year at the French top-flight team Reims. Well, it will be Tawanda Mazwanise who will deliver this corner kick for Zimbabwe. Helped on at the near post, and it does count as an attempt on target, but an easy save for Omondi in goal. Now then, Avire the substitute. Those fresh legs of his. Picked up by Nondi. Rinomota. Takwara gives it back to his goalkeeper. Here's Kamabilia. A clever ball down the line from him, and Zamura tried to skip away from Akumu. Jordan Zamura, formerly of Bournemouth in England, before making a move to Italy to play for Udinese. Majority of this Zimbabwe team are either playing their club football in the UK or around Africa, but there are others sprinkled about the place, including, of course, Joseph Okumu at Reims in France. In the Kenya team, Marshall Munetsi in the Zimbabwe team, a teammate of his. Kenya coming forward again. The ball across the penalty box, and it will run behind for the throw-in. There's been plenty of good intentions today from these two sets of players. Eric Otieno plays his club football in Poland, attacking again down that left-hand side, but the final ball has been missing all too often. Touched on by Odada. Odiambo, is he onside? The referee is having a look across to the assistant. He is onside. Okumu. Amos Nondi. Owino. Engin Firat, the Kenya coach, will be watching this and wondering how his team can break down the Zimbabwe defence. I think it just needs a bit more quality in the final third, and the chances will come for them. Flighted forward, looking for the substitute, John Avire. Samura trying to hold off Richard Odata. Kenyan number 12 needs to be a little bit careful, having been booked earlier on. Andy Rinomota again. 15 minutes of the 90 remaining. Well, Rinomota trying to hold off Eric Otieno, but was sent to the ground and not able to win a penalty for that, that's for sure. And he is left there as Kenya break forward at the other end. Are we going to see a goal this afternoon in Kampala? Kamabiliat for Zimbabwe. Driving forward ahead of him is Marshall Munetsi, the captain. Can the skipper make the difference? Well, it was a very ambitious attempt from Munetsi. He's got that in his locker, the ability to add goals from midfield, but from that kind of angle, asking an awful lot to beat the Kenyan goalkeeper. Haven't seen enough of that from Marshall Munetsi today. He's been perhaps a little bit inhibited. I'm sure that was part of the strategy by the Zimbabwe coach Mikael Nace to ensure that Munetsi just sits really alongside Rinomota in the midfield. Munetsi again plays the pass to his left. Now then, this time there's space for Mazwanise to run into. Mazwanise from the angle looking to pick out a green shirt in the middle. It is going to be a corner, but that's a bit better from Zimbabwe. They're seeing spaces here as Kenya themselves try to commit men forward, looking for the opening goal. And maybe the breakthrough will come from one of these teams in a more open finish to this game. Well, Murwira is the player who will deliver the corner here for Zimbabwe. A goal now could be enough to take the 3 points. It's always felt like a game that would be a tight contest. God knows Murwira. With the in-swinging delivery, it nearly came to Kamabiliat. Well, I think Kamabiliat is perhaps annoyed with himself that he didn't make contact with that ball. In comes the cross, looking for Biliat once again. Might just fall this time. Well, it was Mazwanise with the shot, which was blocked crucially by the Kenyan defence. They've done that a couple of times today. Some brilliant last-ditch defending. I think it's Joseph Okumu who perhaps been winded by that block. Look at this first clearance. And then he gets up quickly and receives that shot from Mazwanise right in the chest. That is outstanding defending from the Kenyan captain to deny Zimbabwe the opening goal here with 10 minutes remaining. Well, Joseph Okumu, who's been playing regularly in Ligue 1 in France for a good club in Reims, well run, and, competing high up the table there for the last couple of years. A real defensive stalwart for the Harambee Stars, just lacking a bit of quality at the other end today. Time then for another change to be made here. And it's a Zimbabwe substitution. Prince Dube, who's just joined the Tanzanian Giants, Young Africans, is the player coming off. And a straight swap up front for the visitors. Plenty of fresh legs on in attack now, but they've got more defending to do here. Odiambo looking for the run of Odada. Finally breaking free and into the opposition penalty box. Richard Odada, a bit like Marshall Munetsi at the other end. Prince Dube off. And Douglas Mafumo of the South African side, Polokwane City, is the player who comes on. Kenya again, maybe this time. Otieno denied by a brilliant piece of goalkeeping from Washington Harambee. Well, this match is finally opening up, and Eric Otieno, who has not stopped running up and down that left-hand side all afternoon, getting on the end of the pass inside the box. And all credit to Zimbabwe's experienced goalkeeper Washington Harambee for racing out, narrowing the angle and making a save. Well, you've got to be brave, and Washington Harambee certainly was there, and he's proving that he's still got what it takes at this level, despite having recently celebrated his 39th birthday. Of course, for a goalkeeper, usually they can go on that bit longer. Kenya now looking to make more changes. Akumu looking to go wide for Odiambo again. Eric Otieno making the run forward. Richard Odada, he fancied the shot, and that is a wayward effort from the midfielder, who is getting some much needed minutes under his belt today, because since his move to Dundee United in the Scottish Premiership, he's played very little at the beginning of the season, not yet deemed by his manager there to be fully up to speed. A sprinkling of supporters in the stands here in Kampala today. Well, Kenya waiting to be able to make the double substitution. Time then for those changes. Well, Jukabuya, another young Africans player out on the field today, is making way, and so is Eric Otieno, who's put in a tremendous shift on the left-hand side. Olwin Terra will replace Abuya in the midfield, and Abu Domar is a left-back by trade. He will pick up the position vacated by Otieno on that left-hand side. Well, despite all the changes, despite chances at either end in the last few minutes, it is still 0-0 here between Kenya and Zimbabwe today. Odada losing out. Maybe an opportunity here for Zimbabwe. Held up by Mafumo. Falls for Munetsi. Still alive. Rina Mota. Out to Jordan Zamura. Mafumo again trying to play it across the face of goal. It's going to be another Zimbabwe corner. Oh, Kamabiliat was the target of that pass from Douglas Mafumo. In fact, it is not a corner, and it is going to be Bernomondi to launch it downfield with just a few minutes remaining. We should have a good few minutes of stoppage time as well, of course. Confirmation of that substitution. Eric Otieno replaced by Abu Domar at left back, and Jukabuya making way in the midfield for Olwin Terra, who is based in Armenia at club level. Rooney Onyango. Challenged by Richard Odada, was penalised by the Senegalese referee. Odada does need to be careful, having been booked earlier on. Now then, this might be the chance for Zimbabwe to finally get the breakthrough. Well, that shot was deflected. It nearly completely wrong-footed Bernomondi, the Kenyan goalkeeper. And again, Zimbabwe looking dangerous when they get the chance to approach the opposition penalty box. Nolan Sendami, one of the substitutes brought on in the second half by Michael Nace, the Zimbabwe coach, trying to get the shot away. Here they come again. Mafumo looking to release Biliat. As we move now into the 90th minute of this game here in Kampala today. Mandela National Stadium hosting this game with Kenya as the home side this afternoon. And it will be Zimbabwe, the home side, in a few days' time when they face Cameroon in this stadium. These teams will meet again in November towards the end of the qualifying campaign. And it looks like it will probably shape up to be an interesting contest for qualification here. Cameroon, of course, one of the great names in African international football, multiple former winners of the AFCON, but they have been in a bit of a state of disarray on and off the pitch in Cameroon in recent times. Didn't really make a massive impact at the AFCON earlier this year in Ivory Coast. Namibia, meanwhile, did very well at the AFCON, making it beyond the group. Well, these two teams will be competitive, will look to make it back to the AFCON tournament. Kenya have certainly been there before, albeit just once in the last 2 decades. That was in 2019 in Egypt, when they did beat Tanzania, but were eliminated from what was an extremely difficult group behind Algeria and Senegal, the two teams who went on to contest the final. We are into 4 minutes of added time at the end of this game today. Michael Nace, newly appointed coach of Zimbabwe, and aiming to lead them back to the AFCON. They were not able to take part in the last competition. Before that, they'd been to 3 in a row in 2017, 2019, and in Cameroon in 2022, albeit they failed to make it out of their group at any of those. Here's Billiat, just unable to bring that ball under control. Owino. Well, Zimbabwe finishing this game stronger. Rino Mota with the interception. Ball out to the near side for Mazwanise. Looks for the overlapping run from Jordan Zamura. It's not held by the goalkeeper in the middle. And Akumu eventually clears it. It will be a corner, but shaky defending from the Kenyans. And still the possibility of a dramatic conclusion to this game. Zimbabwe looking for a stoppage time winner. Really important touch away from Akumu. Is this the chance that the Warriors were looking for? God knows Murwira trotting across to deliver this dead ball. Well, it might be now or never for one of these two teams to escape with the victory today from Kampala. The Zimbabweans will be staying here for the next game in a few days' time. What a huge boost it would be for them to snatch the victory at the end, but the corner from Murwira is horribly overhit, and ultimately that has been the issue today, just not enough quality in the final third. Abu Domar with the ball forward. Kenya again looking for the free kick, and again the referee playing on as the ball is lifted over the top, looking for the run of Sendami, and that will probably be that. Well, these two teams, credit to them, they've both tried to find a way to win this game. Just hasn't been the necessary quality in the opposition penalty box from either team. May still be time for one last chance for Kenya. Onyango trying to get away from Zamura. He conceded the free kick, and Michael Nace, the Zimbabwe coach, well, he looks frustrated. But on the whole, I think he can be quite encouraged by a lot of what he's seen from his team today. Given where the Zimbabwe national team have come from, Michael Nace has been in charge of Seychelles and Rwanda in the past, now looking to really help develop this Zimbabwean team. And they're off to a relatively encouraging start in their quest to make it to next year's Africa Cup of Nations in Morocco. A goalless draw here today in Kampala with Kenya The Harambee Stars, deprived of home advantage today, forced to play this game in the Ugandan capital, and really, on balance, Zimbabwe were the more likely winners. They had a couple of decent chances in the first half, a couple of decent chances in the second half too. Kenya, plenty of hard work and effort from them, but just not enough quality. And Kamabilia still going strong. The veteran Zimbabwe will take plenty of encouragement from this result today. It finishes in Kampala. Kenya 0, Uganda 0. Well, thanks very much for joining us here in Kampala.